All right. Perfect. Okay. Alrighty. How's everyone doing? Give us just a moment. We are getting all set up on all of the different channels right now. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is your host, Alexander Miles, for the Mission Greatness Show. Super excited that you are joining us. So, here's what we got. We're actually live among different platforms right now. We've got YouTube right here. If you're joining us on YouTube for the live version or for the replay, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. Same goes, we're also streaming live on Facebook, and we got the Facebook audience on here as well. And yeah, once again, thanks for tuning in. And we're also live on Instagram. So if you're live on Instagram right now, thanks so much for tuning in. So this will be available for replay back on Facebook and on YouTube. Fortunately, it doesn't work that way on Instagram, but yeah, and then we're actually going to be recording the show. So that's what's going to be happening in about a minute or so. We will get all of the logistics set up for the Mission Greatness podcast. The Mission Greatness podcast is available on iTunes. And let me just put something on here. We are talking about, so people know when they come in, about goal setting. For Instagram doesn't allow you to do this beforehand, so Q&A after. Q&A. Oops. All right. Perfect. All right. So now people know what we're talking about. Okie dokie. So what we're going to do here is we're going to give it about, like I said, about a minute or so. And then what we'll do is we will start the podcast. I'll put on the little intro so you guys know what it is about. And then we're just going to start working. And actually, are we set up live on YouTube? For some reason, it's showing me that we're not. Let's just see. Sometimes it's a little tricky here. Awesome. We're all live on YouTube, which is great. So, what we'll do is get started momentarily. And remember, stick around till the end. We got Q&A coming up, so podcast maybe 15-20 minutes, gonna be straight, go to the point, talking about goal setting. Super excited for you. Alrighty, be just a moment and we will rock. Let's open up make sure our recording platform's on. It looks like it is. And we are good to go. Let's do it. Okay, this is going to go right here, and we're going to start the podcast in about 30 seconds. Like I said, for those of you that are just joining, we are talking about goal setting for 2018. How do you make it your best year yet? All right, so we're going to play the intro music. If you're on YouTube, I apologize. The intro you may not hear it super well. Like I said, we're also live on Instagram and Facebook if you want to join us that way. But basically the agenda today, we're going to talk about we're going to do the podcast 15-20 minutes, talk about goal setting, talk about the 3 reasons why people fail at their goals. And after that, we're going to open it up for some Q&A. So stick around, put your questions in the chat box, and we'll go from there. Alrighty. Give me just a second. We'll play the intro, and then we'll start recording and rock and roll. Welcome to the mission. Oops. Let's go back one more time. All right, here we go. And we will go. Mission Greatness Podcast, where it's all about inspiring you to achieve greatness in life. Get ready for some awesome insights, tools, and strategies that will challenge you to think differently. Are you ready? It's time to wake up and create greatness today. Here's your host, Alexander Miles. Hey guys, thanks so much for joining the Mission Greatness Podcast. This is your host, Alexander Miles. Hope you are having an outstanding start to 2018. I know there's lots of amazing things in your future, things that we're going to be covering, and today about your future, and just a lot of great things about goal setting and making 2018 your best year yet. So we always start with the quote of the day, and the quote of the day is by Michael Phelps. Some of you might know him, probably most of you do. Olympian swimmer, one of the best, if not the absolute best in history, based off the number of gold medals that he has achieved. And the quote goes like this: I think goals should never be easy. They force you to work, even if they are uncomfortable at the time. Once again, that's by Michael Phelps. I'll say it one more time. I think goals should never be easy. They should force you to work, even if they are uncomfortable at the time. So it's something to think about. We all have goals, and it's already middle of January, and a lot of people have already stopped their goals, their New Year's resolutions. So that's the reason why I'm making this right now. It's, whether you're listening to this in January, or you're listening to a replay going back on the podcast, I hope that this will serve you, and I really think it will, because I know this has helped me along with many other people that I work with and lots of other people that I've learned from. So these are not just all my ideas. A lot of them are my ideas, with kind of a mixed and mingle approach of other experts in the industry. Lots of different books that I read, and lots of different videos and mentors that I am following on a regular basis. So, by the way, those of you that are listening on the podcast, you can also take a look at the live streaming, because we are currently streaming on Instagram. So I was going to say hi to our Instagram audience that is on right now. Thank you so much for joining the live broadcast. Also, we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. You can get to any of those and follow us, see what we're doing on a day-to-day basis here on the channel. Everything is Mission Greatness. Mission Greatness on Facebook, Mission Greatness on Instagram, as well as YouTube. And of course, this is the Mission Greatness Podcast. And if you want to get the exact links, go to missiongreatness.com. We'll have everything for you. So let's get right into it. And at the very end, if you guys are live on the channels, we will take a Q&A. So definitely great to do. You can always contact us directly if you wanted to on our website, if you want to get an idea of what we are up to or want to contribute to the show. So today we're basically going to cover about, basically how do you take a look at previous years, what's worked, what hasn't worked, how do you do that, and how do you ultimately make those changes to ensure that you're going to get someplace this year, that you're actually going to start seeing results. And we're gonna go into the three reasons why people fail at their goals as well. And then we'll kind of go into a little session that you can do for yourself. And and then at the very end, we'll just kind of wrap everything up and go from there. So without further ado, let's rock and roll into the meat of the content. So It's 2018, and this is probably not the first episode that or the first exposure you've had to goal setting, but instead, how do you have to really think about what is going to make this year different. We all hear, typically it's end of December, beginning of January. It's all over the news. It's all over every article. It's all over, the gyms. Every single gym is trying to get you to join their program, I should say, or their gym, or whatever they have going on. I actually remember this year, it was on January 1st, I was traveling, and my gym called me. What do you know? They're just like, they just left me a voicemail. Hey, what's going on? Give us a call back. We want to see if we can get you set up. I think I also had a call from Orange Theory. So just people calling because they know people are motivated during it. And, why does this happen the first month or two? And specifically just the first week or two as well. But I feel like no one talks about resolutions after the end of January. Definitely not past February. So my goal and my outcome of this is how do you make 2018 different? What's going to make 2018 different? And think for a moment, take a look back at previous years. Okay, take a look back at 2017, 2016, 2015. How did that process of setting the things you wanted to do, how did that go for you? And be honest with yourself. For some of you that are listening or watching, you might say, hey, 2018, or I should say 2017 and 16, all those years were amazing. I had some of the best years of my life. And then others of you might be thinking, well, it wasn't really, I had these things I wanted to do, but I just didn't do them. Or better yet, I hear this one a lot where they're just like, oh yeah, I don't do the whole goal setting thing. I've tried that before. It just doesn't work for me. Or oh, it's that's just stupid. And the reason for that is because they failed in previous years. And by failing in the past, a lot of people will start to, basically what will happen is they will start to just think, it hasn't worked in the past. It's not going to work in the future. So why am I even doing this? Why am I even letting myself down? And, that's unfortunate. So my goal is to make sure that doesn't happen to you. So take a look at previous years, see how the past couple years have gone. Be honest with yourself. What has been good during 2016? Think for a moment. What has been good during 2016? What's been great during 2016? What have you learned in 2016? How have you grown? How have you become a better person in 2017 and 2016 and 15 and all these years behind us? What have you learned? Maybe you've learned what to do. Maybe you've learned what not to do. Think about it. So what have some of these goals been for you? Have you met them? And if you met them, great. That is amazing. And what I encourage you to do is if you've met your goals and you have gotten, you achieved them, take a look and say, great, this is awesome. I've done this in the past. How do I do this in the future? Or hey, let's take a look at the goals and realize that, it's just, I maybe came up on some of them and then others just were not quite there. Maybe you reached 60% of your goal. Maybe you didn't even do it. And what I would guess that the number one reason why you did not get that is because you lacked planning and you lacked actually taking the time on a regular basis. When I say regular basis, I mean weekly and daily basis to see where you are and see see the results that you're getting. And, I bet that is the reason. So we're going to go right now into the 3 reasons why people fail at their goals. And that goes into the number one thing is they do not plan properly. And by the way, when I'm going through these, I don't want to come off as someone I know the answer to everything, because I don't. I'm learning. I'm learning in my life and reading and becoming the best version of myself too. But just because I am saying these things does not mean that I'm perfect at them. So that's really important. I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. I'm not preaching at you. I'm learning as we go as well. So all these things, I can learn from. And I just wanted to point that out before we went any further. So number one, they don't plan properly. And what I mean by this is they don't have a system that is, set up on a regular basis to look at what you are actually doing each day. So let me give you an example. So beginning of the year, what do you want to achieve? It means planning, figuring out what do I want to achieve in the areas of maybe my health, maybe my relationship. What do I want to achieve in the area of, fitness specifically? What do I want to achieve in the area of the people around me, my relationships? What do I want to achieve in my purpose and my mission? What do I want to achieve in the area of time management? All of these areas. And this takes some time. It takes some time to actually sit down and do this. It's extremely easy just to jot a couple things down and spend 2 or 3 minutes. Oh, what's your New Year's resolution? That someone says December 31st at 11:35 p.m. right before the ball drops. But actually taking time to decide what you want. I mean, this is the entire year of your life. Where do you want to be in a year when that ball drops? 1 year from now, where do you want to be? What do you want to have done? What experiences do you want to have created? So really think about that and actually plan properly. And it's deciding what you want and deciding how you're going to get there. Be very clear about these pieces. So be extremely clear, and you have to plan this out. There's a quote by Jim Rohn. I forget the exact quote, but I believe it's by Jim Rohn, and it's like, I think it goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. That's what it is. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So it's as simple as just taking a little bit of time each day, to get those things. We'll go at the end about how to actually set this up in your calendar. Tony Robbins has a great philosophy. It's called RPM, which is Rapid Planning Method, and we'll go over that briefly in a little bit. So take the time to plan what you want. And like I said, in just a moment, we'll actually go through a process of this, how you basically start from your 5-year plan all the way to your daily plan. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. Number 2 is they don't have the proper strategy. I'll use a great quote from Tony Robbins, and he says, hey, if you keep going east looking for a sunset, you don't have the right strategy. You don't have you're not going to get there. So you've got to have the right strategy. And the right strategy can be from, people that have already done it. Take a look at, people that have done what you wanted to do. There's a ton of, the majority of you that are listening and watching, the majority of you, there are things that, like the things that you want, people have done before. For example, if you're looking to get the 6-pack abs, people have done that. If you're looking for the great relationship, people have done that. If you're looking how to network, people have done that. If you're looking how to start an affiliate business, people have done that. If you're trying to become an internet marketer, people have done that. If you're trying to sell books on Amazon, people have done that. If you're trying to become a lawyer, people have done that. If you're trying to become a musician or a model, whatever it is, people have done these things. So take a look at what others have done and see what you can learn from them. You don't have to, all of your failures don't have to be your own. You can take a look at what other people have done and ultimately decide what, take a look what they've done and see how to get there faster. because if you try to do it all on your own, it's going to be a lot more challenging. So I strongly recommend you've got to have the right strategy in place in order to in order to get your goal. So and that brings us back to or forward to the third item, and that is because third reason that people fail at their goals is because they don't take action. And I mean action towards the goal that you're doing. It's the 80-20 rule. Now, I'm not perfect at this either. This happens to me, but it's figuring out what are those 20% of things that you can do that are going to get you 20. I'm sorry, let me backtrace that. What are the 20% of the things you can do that are going to get you 80% of the results? Having a little bit of a dyslexic moment here. So what are the 20% of the things that you can do on a daily basis that are going to get you 80% of the results? And think about it. On an average week, if you want to achieve a certain, let's say, going to the gym, you've got to set up time to go to the gym. You've got to set up time to work on your business. You've got to set up time to work on your purpose, on your schooling, whatever you're doing. But just because you have just because you set up the time doesn't mean that everything has equal opportunity. It's basically, think about this. So if you're running a business, there are so many pieces that go into it. You've got everything from the website, you've got everything from the marketing, you've got everything from the sales, you got everything from the payroll, you have everything from accounting, you have invoicing, you have all of these pieces. You have what email provider am I going to use? What kind of benefits am I going to give my employees? And all of these are important. And I'm not necessarily saying that one of them is 100% more important than the other, but take a look at it. At the end of the day, if you don't have the sales, if you don't focus on how to get sales into the business, having that fancy logo on the website and all these little things that look amazing are not going to get you anywhere. Now, yes, I understand that having good marketing and having a good website can help you with sales. It all depends on what business you're in. I'm talking kind of at a general, broader spectrum. I think you get the idea from this. It's figuring out what are those 20% of things that are going to get you 80% of the results. And it's really about setting up time. Setting up time every single day to do this. And we'll go over this in just a moment. And then the final piece I want to mention with the not taking action is RPM. Like I said, RPM is Tony Robbins, something that he came up with. It's the rapid planning method. And we could have an entire podcast. I could talk for hours about this, but I'll give you the gist of it. Or I should say the number one piece. It's becoming outcome driven. What is the outcome that you're trying to achieve? So if you're trying to start a business, you're trying to make money, there's 100 things you could be doing, but in order to get that outcome, you may only have to do 5 of them. So just think about that. What exactly is it that you want? What is the outcome? What is the purpose? I like to do this with meetings. What is the purpose of this meeting? What is the outcome of this meeting that we're going into? What is the outcome that I want to get out of today? If I could only do one thing today, what would it be? What is the outcome for whatever it is that I'm doing on a regular basis? What is the outcome for the week? What is the outcome for this podcast right now? And, the outcome for this podcast is I want you guys to get clear on, how do you make 2018 an amazing year? That's my outcome. And I really want you to be clear, and I want you to be able to do it. So that's really what it is for me. How do you make this year better than last year and the years before? And how do you make it the best year? And if I can get a couple little gold nuggets to you that you're going to like and that you're gonna achieve, that's my main piece. So that's my outcome for this. So we're gonna wrap up in just a few moments. few minutes here, but I want to, before I do that, I want to kind of go into a quick little strategy about what you can do. Like I said, I might make an entire video on this because it's very powerful, and I don't want to, just because I'm going to go over it in about 2 to 3 minutes does not necessarily mean that's all it's going to take. You know, for you to successfully do this, this is something that I recommend you doing at least once a year. And you'll actually see the process and how it works to where you'll want to do it multiple times a year and actually ultimately onto a daily basis. So before I confuse you anymore, let me just go right into it. So it's so important to set up a plan of success for you. And it all starts with, what is your 5 to 10 year plan? And some people will tell you that having a 10-year plan is very challenging, and there's almost no reason to have a 10-year plan. And what I mean by that is, things are going to change so much in 10 years that for you to know exactly where you're going in exactly 10 years from now, for a lot of people, that's just not realistic, and it's just too overwhelming. Some people it is. It depends kind of where, what industry you're in, where you're going, but the majority of people having that 10-year plan is not necessarily the best thing. So what I've heard is a 5-year plan is usually a good idea, and then you can kind of have like an overall mission for your life, kind of a mission and direction of where you're going. So anyway, so come up with this 5-year plan. In 5 years, you want to be a speaker, you want to be on the Today Show, whatever it is, you want to have a multi-million-dollar business, whatever it is for you. Come up with this 10-year plan, this 5-year plan. Then you ultimately want to break it up into goals. So take a look. In the next 5 years, where do I want to be? And what do I need to do to get there? And then you take a look at you're at 2 years. You say, okay, where do I want to be in 2 years? And what do I need to do to get there? You do the same thing with 1 year. Where do I want to be in 1 year? And what do I need to do to get there? So those are the top things: 5 year, 2 year, and 1 year. Now, the remaining of it is a similar process, but it's not necessarily setting as many end goals, I should say. It's more about setting milestones. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a look at 6 months. Okay, in 6 months, what milestones do I need to have achieved in order to meet this 1 year goal? And which is ultimately goes to the 2 year and the 5 year goal. What milestones do I need to meet? It might be, hey, I need to have 50 YouTube videos posted, or hey, I need to be posting on Instagram at least twice a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week, whatever it is. Just think about what are those ultimate goals that you need to, have done, and those milestones that you need to have done in those 6 months. Then you do the same thing for the 3-month goals. You take a look at 3 months and say, okay, so for the past 3 months, or I should say for the next 3 months, what do I need to do? What goals and what milestones do I need to have achieved? You do the same thing for 1 month, then you go to 1 week, and then you ultimately want to do daily. Say, hey, okay, so what do I need to do today in order to get the goals that I want? What do I have to do in the, whether it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 hours that you have blocked off of work today? What needs to be done today to ultimately get my weekly goal? And then that's really it. You've got to then say, okay, and then if you do the things daily, your weeks are going to work out, then your months are going to work out, then your 3 month, and your 6 month, and your 1 year, and your 2 year, and your 5 year, and then ultimately that will work out. And then, like I said, this is all about setting yourself up for success. It's all about setting yourself up to win, and that's what it's about. I think here at Mission Greatness, it's all about how do you become great at life. How do you live your definition of greatness? And as I say in a lot of the episodes, it's different for everyone. Everyone has their own definition of greatness, and that's okay. It's how do you live your definition of greatness? That's ultimately what it's about. So at the end of the day, you've got to take action. If you don't take action on anything, you're not going to get very far. So consider, what are the things that I can start doing today that are ultimately going to get me my 5-year plan? So start with the 5-year plan, work all the way to your 1 year, or sorry, your 1 day, and everything's going to work out by itself. And like I said, when we went back to the 3 reasons people fail at goals is because they don't take action. Action's huge. Take action on all of this stuff. Okay, just me telling you this is great, but if you're not taking action, not going to get very far. And I'll throw one other piece just to think about as well. And like I said, I think I'll make a whole video about how to actually do this, so you can. I'll put it on the whiteboard so you can really see it. But take a look at so all of these things. Where do you where are things going? And how have things been? So if you get to the 3-month goal, to the 3-month point, and you say, hey, this just is not working, you need to re-strategize. And you need to take a look at, okay, so this is just not working so well. What can I do differently? And that should really be done on a weekly, if not even a daily basis. Say, today, let's say it's 9 o'clock at night, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, whenever you're done for the day, take a look and say, okay, how did today go? Did I get my outcomes? Did I do the things that I said I was going to do? Did I do the things that I wanted to do? And if the answer is yes, great. But how can you improve tomorrow? That way it doesn't end up being, 11:30 on December 31st of this year, and you say, hey, well, actually, I didn't really do that well. I'm not getting my goals done because you did not go back and actually check up on them. So think about that. So ultimately, do these things, and you're gonna start seeing results. And definitely share with me on how these things went. Make a note in the comments. Tell me what you're gonna do. Tell me the number one thing that you're excited about for this year. And at the end of the day, these things, they may be good results or they might be bad results, but at least you're getting results, and you can then recalculate and redo from there. So think about it. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Mission Greatness podcast. Like I said, for those of you that are on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, thank you so much for joining in. We're going to start streaming some of these on there, so make sure you are listening and watching. Make sure you're following us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Mission Greatness is the hashtag there, or the @ symbol, I guess it is. And so definitely check us out at missiongreatness.com. Check out the other podcasts and other blogs that we have going on. Super excited to bring you guys value here in 2018, continuing, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and we'll talk to you guys soon. All right, bye-bye. Okay, so now, how's it going, YouTube? Have not forgotten about you. I appreciate you tuning in, and thanks so much for tuning in on Facebook as well as Instagram. So I'm welcome to take any questions that you guys have. I'm gonna hang out for just a couple minutes then, and I'm just gonna edit this a little bit here, get this saved, and then if I see any questions, we'll go from there, and we'll continue to rock it. So feel free to put any questions in the comments box, and I will go ahead and do the best I can to answer them. Okay, let me just save this real quick, and then I will see what we have in the... Let's save this here just before it goes anyplace. Hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Thanks so much for tuning in live. This podcast should be available probably by the end of the day. If you guys want to listen to it or to share it with your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to save this right here, and it doesn't look like I see any questions inside of the chat box. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Like I said, follow us. Make sure you are subscribed so you know when other things are coming up. Follow us on YouTube and Instagram. We got awesome content that's being posted on a regular basis, as well as Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. I forget which one I said. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Happy Sunday to you. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.